Is it really Eve's fault, or is the blame on Adam? Early in Genesis, where it was just God commanding Adam, but not necessarily Eve.
That is a great question. Actually, Paul talks about it in the New Testament to Timothy. He says that Eve was deceived and Adam wasn't. So Adam knew what was going on. Adam knew what God had commanded. Eve was deceived, which means what? Adam had the instruction. It was Adam's responsibility to lead his family, communicate the instruction to his wife, and make sure his family was following in the ways of God. But Adam, who was supposed to be the leader, allowed his wife to speak to snakes.
That's what I told somebody. I
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to be careful who the people you love are talking to, especially if you're the head of the house. If you're the head of the house, it's your responsibility to make sure nobody under your care is conversing with snakes. But that's another sermon for another day.
You would think that this lesson would prevent men from treating women like trash. Because when you look at what these two young people were talking about, that it was Adam's responsibility as the leader of the family, not only to provide the instructions to his wife Eve that had been given to him by this God, but also to ensure that those instructions are followed, ensure that those who come around her do not lead her astray, that although she disobeyed and ate from the tree first, that he was in the leadership position to prevent it, and he did not. And therefore, the responsibility that comes with leadership falls on the man. And therefore, now the man should receive the harsher of the punishment, taking on, because he's had taken on more responsibility. That the man should be more of a guide to his wife instead of a lordship over his wife. That the woman should not be treated as such. But the Bible doesn't go that route. It doesn't even go that route within the story. It immediately shifts gears. Because as soon as man and woman figures out that they're naked and they're ashamed and they go hide in the wilderness or in the garden from this God, and God finds them miraculously because he called them out in his omniscience. It's called sarcasm. The first thing that Adam does is blames the woman. The second thing that happens is that the woman then blames the serpent. And if you really look at it, Adam not only blames the woman, but he also blames God. He said, "This woman that you gave me," as if he had no responsibility whatsoever. And what does this God do? He pretty much agrees with Adam. For Adam, all his punishment is that he's kicked out of the garden, and now he has to actually work in order to provide for his family. But not only does Eve have to be with Adam, who now has to work, and there has never been a time frame in any society where the average woman wasn't working as well. This idea that the woman stays home and does nothing but rear children is not a reality in all situations, especially when women, you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, the Proverbs 31 woman plants a garden, plants a vineyard, makes merchandise, sells merchandise, makes sure the house is taken care of, feeds her family. A Proverbs 31 woman does a hell of a lot than sit back and wait for her man to purchase things for her and take her out to eat and things of that nature. But she works and still has to provide for her husband, provide for her children, take care of the household, stays up late while the husband goes to sleep. You better go read Proverbs 31 again. But then she is also burdened with the fact that now her childbirth is going to be painful. And that is her method of redeeming herself as well. On top of everything else, she has to endure painful childbirth as a redemption to her for the sin of Eve. She has to still do that. The Bible does not like women. Women are treated as product. They're treated as product. They're sold off to men as wives without their permission. They're tricked, as in the situation with Laban when he was supposed to give him Rachel, but he gave him Leah and then gave him Rachel after 7 more years. And then Rachel and Leah even did the same thing with their slave wives and gave him Bilhah and Zilpah. Women are always treated unkindly in the Bible. They are the subject of essaying. They are the subject of wrongdoings. They are utilized in order to bridge gaps between kingdoms. Abraham tells a half lie about who his wife Sarai is so that he won't be killed. And he does it twice in order to gain his riches, his wealth. Lot's wife is the one who looks back. Lot's daughters are the one who get him drunk and then have children by their own father. Women are always looked upon as parasites. Jezebel came in and orchestrated a renewal of difference of religion by having the people of Israel worship Baal. It is always blamed on a woman, never on a man. And some of you may say, well, that's the Old Testament. But even in your New Testament, what does Paul write? Paul says that for it was not, after he tells the women keep silent in the churches, he said, because it was not Adam who first transgressed, but it was Eve who first transgressed. This continuously puts women in a state of servitude towards men. When the truth of the matter is that if a man calls himself a leader, leadership comes with responsibilities. And with that, one of the things that we teach in the Marine Corps as far as leadership principles is that you are to provide clear instructions and make sure that there is understanding by those who you have given those instructions to. And then you are to ensure that the work or the attitude or the lifestyle is done in the way that you have given those instructions. You are supposed to watch over and protect. And when things go south, it is your responsibility. It was your fault. Never hers, your fault. But as we see, Adam was a punk. Adam punked out. First thing he did was to blame God and blame Eve. So this story, which should have allowed for women to be treated equally, and we see that even Jesus didn't do so when the woman was accused of adultery. Well, because of their society and their culture, men couldn't commit adultery in the same way as a woman could, which made absolutely no sense, because if a man did have sex with a woman who was betrothed or was married to another man, because he stained the property of that man, he still has committed adultery. But when they brought the woman who had committed adultery to Jesus, he never asked for where the man was. He had a great opportunity there to talk about women being treated equally and fairly in the same way as men. Even when Moses said that the daughters should gain an inheritance when the father didn't have any sons, they put a stipulation on it. You can maintain this inheritance as long as you marry another person who is of the same tribe. If you marry outside the tribe, then it goes to your next of kin or other elders within your tribe. So stipulations. If a man suspects you of being pregnant by another man, he gives you a magic potion. And if it causes you stomach cramps and stomach pains and you miscarry, the womb discharges, then you are to be stoned. And if you found to not be a virgin on your wedding night, you are to be stoned. The Bible just does not like women. So for this cause, starting from the beginning, where a story should have been something that would have brought more equality for women, instead, it was the beginning of the destruction of a woman having equal rights, equal judgment under this situation. Go back to your Exodus story with Aaron and his sister. They both commit the same crime of not understanding and not supporting Moses, but yet his sister gets a steeper punishment than Aaron. It's all throughout this Bible. So women should be the first ones to leave this church. It is for your own benefit and for your own good. It is for your own health. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.